Welcome.
Hello.
Hello tonight.
Just me.
Have you been with us before?
First time.
Oh, you picked a great night.
Where are you going, Master? For a drink?
Get all worked up. Silly. It's a party.
Hello there. Welcome to the Nerdy Cantina, where we discuss all things Star Wars. Specifically, we're going to be talking about Star Wars: The Acolyte, which is currently streaming on Disney+. These are going to be spoiler-heavy discussions, so you have been warned. If you haven't seen the latest episode, take this video, put it in your watch later list, and come back and watch it after you've had a chance to catch up on the more recent episodes of Star Wars: The Acolyte. I am your host, Ryan of Van I Quote Channel, and our guests are no strangers to the cantina. They're more than welcome to have some drinks, have some food, enjoy themselves, enjoy the company, enjoy the discussion, hopefully. Lord knows I'm going to need a few drinks tonight. So please welcome my good friend, the Dutch Star Wars guy, the man who put together that electrifying intro that you saw at the top of the show. Case is here. Hello, Case. Welcome, good sir. How are you?
Hello. I'm taking Obi-Wan's example, having a drink because it's the Nerdy Cantina and we're talking about the Acolyte, so I feel like I might need one.
You're probably not the only one. Also joining us is our very good friend and has two lovely little fur babies that like to appear every once in a while on set. Please welcome Jenn to the stage. Hello, Jenn. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing really well. Thank you for having me back. How are you?
Doing well, doing well. We're thankful that you are with us and give our best to your fur babies back there, whether it's Cal or the Luna. So appreciate it.
You can see one of them right now, actually.
I kind of sort of can, but anyway, we'll see their rear ends later. Also, I'm just kidding you. Also joining us is someone who's very good at studying for his quizzes, his tests, his SATs, the LSATs, the MCATs.
My brother with a notepad.
Yeah, seriously, he's got a 64-page notepad and a legal pen in his hand right now, and he's also a fan of other properties that are not so much Star Wars related. But we'll talk more about that on another show. Dion of All Star Fandom is here. Hello, Dion. How are you?
How's it going? I was watching on the go this week, so I went digital for the first time this season. So, but I do have them right here.
You got a bit. I see that.
There's a few things here that my positives, my negatives.
You got negatives? Ooh.
Oh, I do.
I don't think Dion's alone in that department.
I can't wait to hear.
It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. Listen, if anyone has any thoughts about this, by the way, for those of you who are watching or listening, if you have thoughts on this episode or anything going on within Star Wars, the galaxy far, far away, the property itself, whether it's the movies, the TV shows, the books, a lot of books have been very popular lately, speaking of High Republic, and some other characters as well. Let us know in the comments. Let us know in the chat. More than happy to take those as they come in. And what was the other thing? Oh, yes, like and share this video with all your closest friends. Without any further ado, Case, what were the positives that stood out to you in this week's episode known as Choice?
Well, as we already talked about last week, this week was yet again a flashback episode, completely showing the entire events that we already saw in episode 3, but now from the perspective of the Jedi. I was under the impression we would see it from the perspective of May, perhaps, but it's actually from the perspective of the Jedi. And actually, it's just the objective perspective. It's what really happened, because Osha very much had a warped view. We now know that of everything that happened, because she was under the impression that May was like, I'm going to burn this down. And May definitely didn't intend that. She, like, the moment that the thing caught fire, she's like, oh, wait, this is not what I wanted. Wait, what is happening? So I felt this episode was very necessary to clear a lot of things up that we have been wondering for a while about, like, what happened, because pardon my French, but holy fucking shit, Soul killed Anastasia. Oh, like, when that happened, my jaw just dropped, and I'm like, oh my god, this just happened. That's huge. That is his deep dark secret. And in addition to that, what we also didn't know was that he chose Osha over May, deciding May to just drop to her death, essentially. Yeah. That's why also he was under the impression that she was dead, and that was one of his fuck-ups. But, well, we now know that May is still alive, but oh my god, there were just a couple of things that I'm like, damn. And in my review, I mentioned a lot of from a certain point of view, because that is very much the case here. And I thought there were also a bunch of parallels with The Last Jedi, with, in The Last Jedi, when initially Luke tells the story about him encountering Ben and it all going to shit. The exact encounter he avoids, and then Ben tells Rey, "Hey, wait a minute, this is how I saw it." And then finally, Luke reveals what really happened, the objective, the more objective perspective of the entire situation. And that's what we have here as well. Just a certain point of view is a theme that has been going through Star Wars since the beginning, since the original trilogy. And this episode shows it again. And I thought it did that really well. So I was very happy to see how it did that.
Right on, man. Right on. Jen seems very enthusiastic over there in her neck of the studio. So I'm just curious, Jen, what were some of the positives that stood out to you in this week's episode of Acolyte?
Very similar to Case. I enjoyed the point of view that we were given. It actually reminded me of a little bit of Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, because we have that parallel in there with the way the shots were. So with some of the shot choices that were made in this episode, it reminded me of that as you're going through the story and seeing it from the Jedi point of view. And
you mean with the time turner sequence?
Correct. Yes, yeah. The time turner sequence. So it gave me some of those feels. And from a shot perspective, I really enjoyed that, because I remember the first time I had that experience in the theater, and that really impressed me from a shot point of view that I really like. So very excited to see that in this. The other thing that I liked was we got to see Andara again, and you can really see where Andara is at in her journey as a Jedi Master, and the differences between Andara and Sol and when they're at. I don't know if they will confirm this, but Case, maybe you know. I think Sol at this time is still a Jedi Knight. I don't know if he's Master yet. When they go that far back, 16 years. I got the
16 years is not a Master.
Yeah, so I get the impression that he was a Jedi Knight at the time, which was very interesting, and just the dialogue between the two and the different mentalities and just how they interacted with each other. And then I really liked what Anasea told Sol, and in my opinion, really giving prophecy to what happens with the Jedi about their good intentions. That really hit hard for me. Mm-hmm. I really thought, oh man, that woman just prophesied and she has no idea. So that was another good positive for me. And then there was something else that stuck out. Oh, and then the fight choreography, and just seeing the different levels with the fight choreography. And then actually seeing Kelnaka go to town. Was not happy how he went to town, but we got to see a Jedi Wookiee in a battle, which I thought was really cool to see for the first time in Star Wars cinematic history. So very exciting about that. And I think I had a few more, but I can't remember the other ones, but those are my positives.
Oh, I can dig it. And I get that. Yeah, fight choreography was good too, which I'll talk more about in my neck of the woods when it comes to the positive parts of this episode. But Dion, since you took a different approach and you went mobile, instead of having an actual legal pad with an actual pen in front of you, and you got to look at a 4-inch little mini screen that's insanely hard to use. It's insanely hard to write in those things. But I'm just curious if you can answer the billion-dollar question. What were the positives that stood out to you in this week's episode on that itty-bitty little phone of yours?
Yeah, I think I'm echoing everything Case and Jen said too. So I'm going to go a different direction. I'm just going to go straight up fan. I got speeder bikes. I got a Jedi lightsaber fight. And I will say this too, a good positive. I don't know if you guys watched all the way through the credits or listened through the credits, but the final song of this episode was amazing. The Power of Two. Did we all? I was gonna say, do we all just leave Disney as soon as the credits roll?
No, I let it roll. I let it roll. Marvel taught me well. Let it roll.
But I
didn't let it roll.
You should have. Case, go back. You got to let that roll, man. But that was a good positive. But just to get in the story beats too, we got the answers that we've been looking for throughout the entire season. I will say it might jump into a bit of my negatives when we get to that point with the whole story. But man, we got the answers we were searching for. Tied up a lot of loose ends. We all thought it was going to be a flashback episode, and it was. So I don't think I thought about it before that episode we were on last week, but hearing you all talk about it, I was like, I was mentally prepared to be like, okay, we're going to go back in time for this one. So that was a good positive for me. Just seeing it from that.
You're welcome for preparing you.
I appreciate it.
We're educating you on the template of Star Wars shows and movies.
Yeah, and you're right on the moment. As soon my first note is flashback episode. That's at the top of this to give you guys credit for that. For Get Me Ready. But no, I love the Jedi lightsaber fight at the end. I do have more questions. I probably came out of this a little bit with a few more questions, and I know we got one more episode, but I definitely enjoyed this episode more than last week, and it gave me everything that I needed. It answered some questions, and I like how they were answered. Maybe not totally, but yeah, a lot of positives. Everything that Case and Jen said, and then obviously speeder bikes, lightsaber fight, and that song at the end. Told you I got a lot of notes here, Ryan.
On that itty bitty little phone of yours, you have a lot of notes. That's quite impressive. By the way, Jamie Hill is here with us. She's given us applause apparently for something somebody said, or maybe you're just applauding the show in general. I'm not really sure what you're referring to, but appreciate you being here, Jamie. Wish you all the best. Hope everything's well in your neck of the woods, respectively, of course. Yeah, so I agree with a few things you guys said. I do agree with the fight choreography, the fights like Jedi on Jedi kicking each other's behinds, because one of them was possessed by witchy woman, you know, and was it Torben, I think his name is? He was being seduced by Anastasia, saying, "What do you want out of life? What do you want out of this? What do you want? What do you want?" I just want to go home.
Man just wanted to go home, man.
That guy's a wuss. He just wants to go home. He's got no strength, no qualifications. You should never been on that planet in the first place. If Torben missed Coruscant that much, he should have said right off the top, "Honey, Mom, I don't want to go. I want to stay home with the rest of the fam. Can you dig it?" But anyway, he didn't voice his concerns. But then again, what did he know? He thought he was just going to look at forest samples and then go home 2 seconds later. But anyway, the fights were cool. I'll give you that. Another positive for me was we got a little bit more background on the witchy woman, witcheroos. We found out more about their crazy witchy woo magic. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense. They almost revealed how these kids were made and created, because Soul confronted. It's like, hey, tell me how these kids came about. What is going on? They were going to say it, but then other stuff got away from them. So, you know, they left on a cliffhanger. But we all know how this happened. We all know how they did it. They used dark magic, witchy woman magic to create this one little piece, and then they tore it in two, and that gave birth to Osha and May. Boom. There's your answer. You are not the father. If you want to pull a Mori on that one. So they have no Faja, but they do have a Madre. So, hey, more power to you, I guess. So yeah, fight choreography was good. Some of the characters that get killed off very early and never should have been killed off in the first place, marketing team. Good to see Kalnaka unleash the fury a little bit, get some time in the battle, in the ring, with CM Punk and some witchy woman and some John Cena wannabes and some other people that I won't name because not everyone here may or may not watch wrestling, but you see where I'm going, right? So, and then we found out more about how the fire was started, and then apparently it wasn't May who killed the other witches. It was Endara, but she didn't mean to do it because self-defense is not murder, folks. Self-defense is not murder. Plus, she was trying to save one of her own, so can't.
And they're all dead, right? Like all the witches, right?
Well,
we don't know yet. We don't quite know.
That's a debate because
I think they're dead personally, but whatever.
Some on the debate part, some think that they are dead because of their connection to the spell they were casting over Kanalka as a joint force to really overpower him and take out the Jedi, because that was their goal, was to take out the Jedi and protect the Coven. The other side of it is because they were connected using the magic, and with Endara, because she just basically severed the connection and did something in the Force to push it back. That she just probably just knocked them all out and they were just unconscious. Now, depending how the rest of the planet maybe have imploded on himself or exploded with whatever happened because of the fire, from what we saw, they probably still ended up dead later on if that explosion continued. But we don't see that, and it has not been confirmed.
Yeah, like to me, again, I'm gonna probably mention The Last Jedi a couple of times, so don't get too triggered, Ryan. But
there was a musical note of Ren again.
But this reminded me of when Luke projects himself across the galaxy to confront Kylo Ren on Crate. in The Last Jedi. And it just seemed that by the time that Indara pushed the witches out of Kelnaka, the witches just they had spent so much power, same like Luke projecting himself, they passed out, and maybe they died because of the experience, depending on how powerful they are and if they're able to do anything about it. But there's indeed the other point of the base was falling apart. The entire enclave was exploding. So if they're passed out and the base is exploding, they might just die as a result of that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a valid point. It could be, but yeah, and the other thing we got was when Soul killed, who was it? Anasea. Like I said, self-defense is not murder. Plus, he thought he was gonna like perform a spell or like do something really evil Knievel to him.
He thought that she was doing something to the girl who he believed was Osha.
He thought it was Osha.
Like he said Osha, and that's why he believed that she was doing something really bad to her. That's why he wanted to protect her by doing that. But oh my god.
Yeah, and when the spell is broken and they have Anasea has that dialogue with Soul before she dies, and May runs over and looks up, that's when he sees the tattoo and the parting of her braids, and he realizes that he made the mistake. Like it brings him back, like, oh crap, what did I just do? And that's why he takes all those hits from Mother
and never fought back.
and never fought back with the saber.
Yeah, okay. Felt bad. I mean, hey, he did what he felt.
It's like after that emotional response, when you snap back to yourself and you finally process what you just did.
He thought he was doing what was right. That's all. At least in my.
I wanted to mention one other positive I remembered off of what you said, Ryan. Another positive I had was when their Jedi are at their camp and they're talking about the planet Brendok. I really appreciated, I appreciated Indara talking about the hyperspace incident. That's actually a reference back to book 1.
Yeah.
From the first book about the hyperspace accident.
Light of the Jedi.
Yeah. I noticed that too, because I read 15 chapters of that book and then I put it down. So yeah.
The whole book is really...
Yeah, if you read 15 chapters, then yes, it's mentioned.
It
already happened.
Yeah, so... And for anyone that's watching this and wants to read some of the High Republic books, but you're not sure where to start, definitely at least start with book 1, because since it's referenced in the show, it will give you that context that you're looking for as far as what happened and how this planet plus other planets were wrecked by this hyperspace accident.
Is Kelnaka in book 1 or no?
No.
No.
He's not. So it's just another Wookiee lookalike.
It's a different Wookiee,
It's a different
Wookiee. All right.
Yeah, different.
If it was Kelnaka, it was like, hey, I saw you on the cover. What's up, dude? But I guess not. Dion, you might want to write that one down. Light of the Jedi, High Republic, Charles Soule, if I remember correctly. So yeah, write that one down. Write it down.
I would recommend that for you, Dion, just to give you some context.
Perfect.
Go ahead, write it down. There you go. We'll give you a minute. Anyway, I got you. So it's all good. But yeah, and the other thing was we found out what happened with the fire, who died what, who killed who, whatever it was. So at the end of the day, what I've learned from this as a positive is May has always been a sociopath, and Lady Coral, I think, is it Coral or correct? How do you say her name?
Yeah.
Coral. Coral was the one who, May was the match. Coral lit the match. So
yeah,
the witchy woman people are still the enemy of this story. The Jedi made some mistakes, yes, but self-defense is not murder. Boom. Court dismissed. So there you go.
I do want to say about May. I understand her a lot more now. A lot more.
I said this.
Yeah, she's a psycho.
Because May, of course, is very much pushed by Coral to get mad, to go after her sister and try to stop her. And that's why, she's very much with those thoughts, going to Osha. But when she then confronts Osha, she's like, well, okay, I'll just lock you here. And she's looking and she's being tempted and she's thinking about it. And then she lights it on fire. And the instant that happens, she's like, oh no,
she tries to put it out.
What I wanted to do. And then
she just wanted to ruin the book.
Like she just
wanted to ruin the book.
Yeah, but it gets out of hand to the point where the fire does start. But she didn't intend to do that. And then she runs up to her mother. And the first thing she sees when running up to her mother is that her mother is killed by Soul. Like
Yeah.
that would scar any child in the world. And then after that, with the entire thing's going down, Coral, something happens to her as well. She goes up in smoke, and we don't see her again. We actually don't know what happened to her,
which comes into some of the fan theories that are out there.
Yeah,
now.
there are a lot of fan theories. But I also am of the opinion there's they're looking for a virgins in the Force. This means just a big, powerful entity of the Force, where apparently they split that into the two girls. Mm-hmm. And I think that Osha is the light side and May is the dark side of that coin. And essentially, Coral is therefore fueling May's dark side, and Anisea is fueling the light side in Osha. That's why Osha is very interested in joining the Jedi, not being with the Witches' Coven. That's my entire theory about that.
I would agree with you
good.
because since they explained how they use this great powerful force that caused this divergence and separated a singular being into two, it is really a yin and yang situation, and which is why they can be compatible, which is why they were training them to fight together and not separate, hence called the nods to the power of two. I am going to push back on the May as a psychopath thing, because the thing is, she is a child and she is a product of her environment. She's being raised by two mothers with two very different parenting styles. And you can just see, because of May's character, the mother she tends to favor because of the way she's being encouraged with that by that particular mother. Like, that's how they're gelling together, where Osha and Anisea kind of gel more together. It's like they have compatible personalities to a degree. Because if you think back to the first flashback, Coral is harder on Osha than she is May, which gives me the sense of a little bit of favoritism. And it's not to say that Coral doesn't love the girls, because she says that she is willing to die for them. And she says that both times in both flashbacks. It's just that May is doing more of what she thinks is the right path and how you should fight, how you should protect, versus Anisea's method. So I just think that with the separating of this singular being into two with the yin and yang narrative, I think that's why they more align with one parent than the other.
Exactly.
No, I can see where you're coming from with that. Once again, this is the Nerdy Cantina, talking all things Star Wars, specifically Star Wars: The Acolyte. Don't forget to like and share this with everyone you know. If you're joining us live on the replay, we thank you for being with us. If you have any thoughts about this or anything else going on in the Star Wars galaxy, whether it's the upcoming films, TV shows, comic books, the books, which we already gave our good friend Dion a recommendation. He's probably going to start reading it tomorrow. Let us know in the comments. Let us know in the chat. We're going to take those as they come in. So, yeah, that pretty much, I mean, as far as I know, that pretty much wraps it up for me as far as the positives go. Other than that, this episode barely moved the needle for me, if at all, in terms of me getting back on the wagon. But anyway, that's just my 2 cents. Case, any negatives that stood out to you in this week's episode?
By the way, I will say, Ryan, simply because you like an actor doesn't mean that they shouldn't be killed off in a show.
I'm okay with Anastasia being killed.
I honestly feel your criticism.
It's been done many times.
Like your biggest criticisms that you've had. Oh my God, they killed off Carrie-Anne Moss and Daphne Keane, 2 of the biggest actresses, and I'm like, an actor being killed off in a movie or a show is not a criticism. That just happens. Because if they were played by a different person that you wouldn't care about the fact that they would die. So I honestly, every time you bring up the criticism, I'm like, this is not a criticism. But anywho, negatives.
Whatever, it's just an opinion, I guess.
No. I understand that. It's just a bit weird to me. Okay. Sorry for going off for a little bit. It's just I've been thinking about that, and I'm like, it just doesn't make much sense to me. But in terms of negatives, fuck Soul. Seriously, I'm just like,
man,
let's be fair. Yeah, like we do understand that he has a certain perspective based on this episode. He sees that the girls are kind of being mistreated. He doesn't see the full picture, and therefore he has the idea that the witches are mistreating them, and therefore he feels like he really wants to protect them, and he has this connection to Osha. But he just wants to take Osha away, and he doesn't have the full picture, and he kills Anisea, and he drops May, and I'm like, okay, May, go ham on him. I want you to get him. I want you to kill him because I completely understand your point of view now. Because from May's point of view, Sol is the bad guy. And of course, that is not how we saw it because we have the full information. We saw everything throughout these episodes, but May didn't.
Or
so as far as May is concerned, I am I still think there are a couple of questionable things that she does, of course, because she is part of that dark side, and there are certain things that she does that aren't really the right thing to do. But I very much understand her a lot more now, and I really hope that Sol is going to face some kind of justice in the next episode, because the Jedi Council doesn't even know about the truth. They told them a warped version of the truth, which is barely scratching the surface to what really happened. And I really want answers to that in the next episode. And if the next episode is not going to answer that, I'm going to be pissed.
Point taken. I mean, look, they were in the flashbacks, so it's like Endara was in the flashback, Kelnaka was in the flashback. Kelnaka actually got to lay the smackdown on some people's candy ass. Torben got to do some candy ass kicking. I mean, what was it? Endara got to do some candy ass. Like, everyone got some time in the sun. I was like, okay, great. A little bit of redemption for that. But anyway, I digress. Jen, what were the negatives that stood out to you? Anything?
The only negative I had, I would say it's more of a question than a negative, but leans more to a negative, is how did Endara know that May started the fire? Because no one was in the hallway with May. She was inside when she took the book, accidentally set it on fire and dropped it. She ran to go get help because everyone was outside. And Endara was flying the starship to where the Jedi were and everything. So it's just like, my view was she just instantly pinned it on May without easier to blame than not really knowing what happened. It's like, well, how does she even know? I mean, there's the possibility that she sends something in the Force, but then that's not communicated in anything that we saw or said. So I was just like, wow, they're just going to pin it on her. And then, when Sol let go of May, like, I literally gasped, like, what the heck did you just do, man? And it's not really a negative, more like I can't believe you just
He wasn't strong enough to hold two people who barely weigh 80 pounds. I mean, what's the deal? I don't get it.
Well,
he was holding the
I do have another negative.
Yeah, but he could have caught both of them. He easily could have caught both of them.
My only disagreement with that is because my opinion of Sol is that he was more on the emotional side. He wasn't really thinking clearly. He was making a lot of emotional decisions because, in my view, Endara, with everything she said to everyone, she was not wrong about anything. Anything she talked about, the way she said the council said no, they're too old, we interfere too much. In my view, Endara was not wrong about anything in what she said to everyone and how both Sol and Torben interfered. So the way I watched it was Sol was making a lot of more emotional judgments and going on more of emotional impulse than really stepping back and listening to Endara, taking some time to feel the Force. He wasn't really using the Force at all to get clarity like Jedi can do. So that would be my only thing on that part, because even Endara said, you didn't listen. You just did what you wanted to do. And now you're going to turn yourself over to the council and destroy this girl's dreams who you wanted to bring here. And now you're going to abandon her too after she just lost everything else? No. So that's how I read it.
By the way, I just realized one more criticism that I had towards that entire sequence of Sol trying to hold May and Osha, because May and Osha are just standing on two sides of that gap, and they're just like, May, Osha, May, Osha. Like, take a couple of steps back to save yourself. Your own
Do we call that ignorance? Is that ignorance on their part?
Yes.
I don't know.
Yes.
Well, yeah, like their age, it's emotional.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if you see that the world's crumbling around you, don't you want to step back from the bridge? I mean,
if you're paralyzed in fear and you're like 7 years old, I think it's natural for a kid to like freeze.
That's a
7 or 8. Yeah. It's Yeah, you could have taken a few, like the song says, take a few steps back.
Soul could have told them to have them girls walk backwards. He could have said something.
And then he could have used the force to like bring them both together on that or where he was on that rock or that platform, wherever he was. I don't know. Could have happened, should have, could have, would have. You know, it's like the woman says in Sister Act 2. There are a lot of people out there right now singing the shoulda, coulda, wouldas. If anyone hasn't seen Sister Act 2, Back in the Habit, go and watch that movie. That is a fun 90s film. All right, man. It's good stuff.
First one too while you're at it.
No, I like both of them. I'm just saying, like Sister Act 2, there was an actress who specifically says to the daughter, Lauryn Hill, there are a lot of talented people out there right now singing their shoulda, coulda, wouldas. So it's just like, I don't know. I just thought of it. I don't know why. Yeah. Random 90s references. They tend to happen sometimes on these shows. Once again, this is Nerdy Cantina talking all things Star Wars. Don't forget to like and share this with all your closest friends. Got any thoughts about Star Wars, the Acolyte, or anything going on in the galaxy in general? Let us know in those comments of the chat. And if you're joining us live or what is known as a replay, we thank you for being with us. Oh, boy, these negatives. Why couldn't you take 10 steps back? Dion, any negatives for you that stood out on your itty-bitty little phone?
Similar to Case, I wrote Saul might be the worst. Or Soul might be the
really?
worst.
Soul might be the worst?
Soul might be, he might be the worst.
Really? Out of all the characters?
Like it made me question like everything I think I know about like the Jedi, really. Like it made me sort of like, okay, well, we go to this planet, we do all this, we try to find how's this planet stay. I don't know, it felt very
Rendock.
Yeah, it just felt weird. Like they're just going from planet to planet, sort of seeing if they can find life. And what's the end goal here? Is it to bring people back or possible Jedi, students with them, sort of thing? I don't know. But yeah, all the decisions he made were bad. Like they were just like it made me question because he was a very likable character up until this very episode for me personally. I hope there's some redemption in the future for him because he did want to tell what actually happened. So, but he was the cause of all of it. And him
and Torben.
Yeah, Torben too. Yeah, which explains him, why he was like he was when we found him in the show too. But I don't know, he just might be the worst. And that was my negative because I didn't want to dislike him. But this episode really made me question him a lot. Other than that, that was my only negative for that. I mean, yeah, it just made me question the whole Jedi Order along with he just might be the worst. That's about it.
Are you going to hold up a sign next week in the audience when you go to the arena? Soul is the worst.
Dion, come with me to Star Wars Celebration in Tokyo and just wear shirt.
Yeah, I'm sure. What's the actor's name?
Soul is the worst.
He might be the worst.
What's his name? Is it
Young Jay?
Yeah, I wonder if he's going to look out in the audience and see Dion sure and be like, "Get out of here."
I'll have the shirt on
now.
I have the shirt on with a single tear down my eye because I wanted to.
For real, bro. Look, listen, I don't know where this is coming from, but for me, Soul is not the worst on this show. For me, it's May, it's Chimere, it's Coral.
But look who got the ball rolling, though.
Those are the three that are the absolute worst. They are the worst characters.
I would agree with Dion to the point that they were just defending their home. I mean, like, because the Jedi were the one that came and disturbed what they were doing.
Yeah, but they weren't trying to be evil about it and take over the land.
Ryan, but even the council, according to Indara, said, you have interfered enough. Leave them alone.
Yeah.
So they're just defending their home. Are their methods, what society says? That's not the right way to do it. Well, no. I mean, they're doing what they know. They're a coven. They're going to use.
Yeah, they're witchy women. I know.
They're going to use what they have at their disposal. And one of the things the show is doing, to your point, Dion, which I think the show is doing really well, it shows why the Jedi fall in the later films. It shows how far they've come away from the original intent, from what we see in the High Republic books, where we delve into those stories. This show, one of the reasons why I like it so much, you see a lot of hues of why the Jedi fall the way they do, and why even Master Yoda doesn't even know everything that's going on, and why he doesn't even sense the Sith around after all these years. So I think that's being communicated really well.
But yeah, what I wanted to say is, Ryan, I very much get the feeling that you only dislike Chimere, May, and Coral because they're dark side users. Dark side users aren't by definition bad people. I personally feel like, I personally think Chimere is an extremely interesting villain, actually, and there's a lot to him that we don't know yet, and we got a lot more information about him in episode 6. May, we're getting more about now, as I said, like now knowing that she saw Soul literally kill her mother, that kind of stuff. That really makes me think, okay, May does have a point at least. Like, sure, she might still
From her
be dark
perspective,
side.
yeah.
And Coral just wants to protect her kids. So all of them have very valid things about them, and simply because they're dark side is not really a reason that they're the worst. And Soul, on the other hand, who is claiming to be this good Jedi, like who's done everything right in his life, literally killed 2 people in this episode. Come on.
I mean, like, which leads to, on your point, Case, some of the theories that are coming out with the fans, because again, this episode shows Mother Coral is nowhere to be seen.
No.
Her body is not with the Coven of Witches. She's not next to Anastasia. So some of the fan theories that are coming out is that maybe Mother Coral is the other Sith in the wings that has been training Chimere, which could possibly explain why he is with May, because we still don't have that question answered. How does he find May? How does May get off the planet? We still don't know how that has happened yet.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And I don't know if they're going to answer that in episode 8 because of the time we have left and how they have to wrap up everything else. But that's a fan theory right now, amongst with some of the other theories that are still going around.
No, I get it. It's just that, if I were, not that I'm not, by the way, and I'm not an expert in any of these areas, but if I'm judge, jury, and executioner, I would say Soul made some bad calls, but I wouldn't put him in prison for the rest of his life. Like I would throw Chimere and May in prison for the rest of their life. But that's just me.
I mean, he'd have a shorter sentence at this point.
He would. I mean, did he make some bad calls? Yes, he did. He absolutely did. I'm not,
I can see him not ending up on the council at all.
No.
That's something that would not be allowed to him for what he did as far as going against the order. It's like, okay, we're not going to send you out of the order, but you will never be on the council.
No, I could see that for sure, and I agree with you on that. I wouldn't put him on the council either because he's made some bad calls. But then again, what Jedi hasn't? I mean, I feel like this show is yes, it's showing us different layers of the witchy woman side of things and also the dark side of things. Yes, but I feel like this show and a lot of other shows just want to paint. And granted, I'm not saying this is necessarily true either because I don't have all the evidence to back me up on this. But does anyone else feel like a lot of the shows and movies are just painting the Jedi? And I feel like very few, if any, of the movies paint the Jedi in a positive light. All of them throw the Jedi in a very negative light.
I don't agree with that. I just think that this show wants to really indicate how we got from the High Republic, where the Jedi were the biggest force in the galaxy and everyone respected them and they could do no wrong because they had been leading for so long, to the point where we are in the prequel era, where the Jedi weren't even able to detect Sidious rising to power and being literally under their noses. So, like, how did that happen? Well, the Jedi have made mistakes along the way, and we see some of those mistakes in this show here.
Yeah, it's strong indicators to the prequels, definitely. And, it also just shows that, not just human beings, but all beings, especially if they are not a bot and they have emotions and feelings, they're not going to be perfect, because any of us, if you, again, I've said this before on the show, which I know some people like, but if you take Star Wars out of it and try to put yourself in that situation, if you're just like out and about doing your job and all of a sudden you see these adults with these kids pushing them around, yelling at them, and you don't fully understand the full context of what's happening, you can make the assumption, oh, these girls are in trouble. They're in danger. They're hurting them. I think any adult, especially if you're a parent and you have the experience of being a parent and you are on the protective side of protecting your children, even if you're out and about with your own family, you see that your antennas go up. It's a natural thing to do. So it just really shows and how we can empathize with these characters that, you know, they are not even perfect. They are making mistakes. They have made mistakes because they are beings with emotions. So if they have strong feelings, as we've seen with Soul, you know, sometimes it will pan out in their favor with good intentions, and sometimes you miss the mark.
All right, fair enough, fair enough. I can see that, and you know, appreciate you bringing that up. There's no question about that. But I'm trying to think if I'm missing something here. So yeah, those I think those were my negatives as far as I know. I don't think I'm missing anything. I don't think. But anyway, just out of curiosity, what do we think is going to happen in this whole series finale, or maybe season 5? We don't even know yet. Have they announced season 2 is happening?
They haven't, but they're still with.
No, but there's strong hints.
There are strong hints. If you look at a lot of the interviews that are coming out now, both with the writers and some of the casting, the way they're talking about the show, they are strong hints for a season 2.
Well, saying something's going to happen and actually having it happen are two very different things.
Yeah.
So, you know, talk is cheap, Disney. Talk is cheap, Lucasfilm. Got to put your money where your mouth is. We'll find out, I guess. But what do we hope to see in the finale here, Case? What do you hope to see, or what do you think is going to happen?
Well, simply because there are still a lot of unanswered things. I don't think they can wrap it all up in one episode. They are pretty much setting up for a season 2, and I think that's the format for all of these shows. Pretty much all of these shows, with probably the exception of Obi-Wan Kenobi and Book of Boba Fett, because those were one-and-done shows. But all the other shows like Andor, Mandalorian, Ahsoka, they're all setting up for a second season because they just want to tell more of a story. But they always base it on views. And the funny thing is, despite all the backlash and the controversy surrounding this show is getting all the views on Disney Plus right now. It's the most successful show this year on Disney Plus. Everyone is watching it. And I do think because of the controversy that, you know, people keep complaining, but they are like, but I'm curious what happens next because I want to complain more. And they're
driving up the curiosity. Like, well, what the heck is happening in this show?
And by the way, Ryan, a couple of weeks ago, you said that you had 1 foot out the door, and a week later, you said you had 2 feet out the door, and you're still watching it. So you clicking, along with all those other people clicking who are not a fan of the show, are still helping this getting a season 2. So we are going to get a season 2. Thank you for everyone who's still clicking on that episode.
I mean, listen,
we really appreciate.
The only reason I'm watching this show is out of respect for this show that we're doing now, which is the Nerdy Cantina, and respect for the panelists.
No, I get it.
That's the real reason I'm doing it.
But as to what I want to see, I really would like to see Soul face justice because I think Soul has made some extremely questionable decisions in this episode that we saw, that he has never faced anything for in the 16 years that he has essentially held that secret, and now he is revealing it to everyone. So it is it's not looking too good for him. On the other hand, no one can at any point mention the Sith to the Jedi Council or Ki-Adi-Mundi, because otherwise that breaks canon to me. So I am very skeptical about the next episode. I hope that they don't break canon in any shape, way, or form. I feel that they just might. We'll have to see how that plays out next week. But there are still a lot of unanswered things, and I very much get the feeling that, you know, they're setting up for season 2, where Osha is going to be Chimera's new acolyte. May is going to get imprisoned for all that she did. Soul should die in the next episode. I do think he's probably going to die in the next episode, in one way or another. But he should face justice in some way, shape, or form. So there's a lot to look out for in this last episode. I feel I'm very much anticipating it. I cannot wait until Wednesday. I have to, but I can't wait because you know what also the issue is. These episodes drop for me at 3 a.m. on a Wednesday. They drop at a perfectly good time for you guys, but I have to wait until 3 a.m. on Wednesday. So I can't actually watch it until Wednesday afternoon. Which kind of sucks. But we'll see.
I mean, listen, in all fairness, I waited till Friday to watch this thing. I didn't even see it Wednesday or Thursday because I've been so tied up with work and other stuff that's been going on in my life. So I'm just like, I'm just going to wait till Friday so I can keep it fresh in my mind when I go live in like 6 hours. And I did. So I did my homework, guys. It's not like I ignored the series, even though I got both.
You didn't read the books, Ryan. You didn't read the books.
Too many books. I know, audiobooks. I know.
I also haven't read a bunch of the books. It's a lot.
It's a dude. It's like 30,000 books by now. It's ridiculous.
30,000 books.
Well, isn't it 30 books or is it 35? I don't know.
It's around the 30 mark.
Does anyone have a number on this? I don't know. Let me know in the backstage area when we're done. But just out of curiosity, though, who was it? Dion, do you have any predictions as to what may happen next week or what you want to see happen? And do you really? Am I in the minority who doesn't want to see Soul end up dead? I mean, he's probably gonna end up dead anyway, but I don't want to see the guy get his head decapitated. But it actually may happen. I don't know, Dion. What about you?
When Kay said dead, I was thought maybe because I want some form of redemption for him, right? I mean, maybe he saves May this time somehow. You know, that he didn't save her, because he didn't save her the first time. I don't know. Could be, but I don't think he should. Oh, he might be. I don't think he should die. I'm sorry. This is real life thoughts in my head.
But I don't want him to die.
These are real
he's
life.
made some really bad calls, but that doesn't mean he should get his head chopped off.
No, I don't think. I think he'll like sacrifice himself or like sort of redeem himself in some form or fashion. I feel like, man, I'm anxious to see who is like the actual sort of big bad behind everything. I hope that's given to us or at least teased for season 2. Sort of like a Thanos turning around at the end of Avengers. Give me that. I know it's not a Marvel show, but yeah, Ryan gets it.
That what if episode with T'Challa?
Oh no, the first Avengers movie at the end when we finally see Thanos, he sort of turns around and does a smile at the camera. That sort of thing. Give me that.
Yeah.
I want to know who the big bad might be.
I remember that too.
Yeah.
I remember that. Dude, I can't believe that movie's 12 years old. It's ridiculous.
Dude, for real, man. But staying on Star Wars.
Sorry. Wrong property.
But I think, like I said, some form of redemption for Soul. And man, big bad, give me that. And those are like the big mainstays for big things for me out of that one, out of the finale, I guess. Obviously seeing where May and Osha sort of end up, seeing like they're going to end up on opposite sides yet again. But could throw a curveball there and like, hey, let's team up. I'm always down for a good team up somewhere. But yeah, those are only 2 things for me. Soul's redemption for all the things that made him the worst, and just seeing who that big bad might be.
Maybe it's Thanos. Sorry, wrong property. He's already dead too. But anyway, by the way,
depends on the timeline.
Yeah, Lauren's here. She says death is in fact redemption in Star Wars. Sometimes, but not all the time there, honey. Not all the time necessarily. Death is just death. Doesn't mean redemption in some cases it does not. So, but whatever, to each their own, to each their own. What about you, Jen? What do you think is going to happen or what do you want to see happen?
I do agree with Lauren. If you look at the deaths in Star Wars, it usually has to do with being redeemed. It is a pattern. I do agree with Dion. I definitely want to see who the big bad is behind the curtain. I do hope we get, even if it's not a full reveal, especially since we're getting a lot of hints to season 2, that it is a cliffhanger I would be happy with, because I can see if they do in fact go into a season 2, like continuing that build up to do this reveal of who the Grand Master is as far as when it comes to the Sith. And if some of the fan theories are correct with which Sith it is, especially with the reference to episode 3 at the Opera House with Anakin with Palpatine, that would be a nice tie-in, in my opinion. I can see Soul getting killed because we have seen it before with other people as far as redemption goes. You know, Darth Vader dies. Kylo Ren dies. That's part of the redemption arc, and it would be similar to that if that does happen. Another thing that I want to see, I am curious to see if how Osha is after putting on that helmet. If if they keep true to what has been done in novels and comic books, where some of Kymir's Sith essence will transfer into her because he's been putting that into this helmet, because we've seen that before. So I'm curious to see if that does happen and how that affects Osha, and when May and her come back together, how that interaction will be, because that will make things more interesting. So some of the things I'm looking forward to that I hope we do see.
Yeah, I do. I am looking forward to seeing who the big bad is. If it is an alternate multiverse version of Thanos, and they're crossing over two different properties in the same show, I think that'd be great. They'd be fantastic ratings. Better than what I've seen.
What you see is the snap.
Yeah, if I see some dude walk up to her and like snap
and the screen goes black.
Yeah, and he snaps his fingers and everything goes black, then I'm like, okay, they're crossing over
and
two
then
properties.
then roll the credits.
Yeah, and then Dion and I are going to geek out like crazy on the next episode, which
greatest episode ever.
And then Dion and I are going to be doing
get
that
Ryan back in the door, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, Thanos is back. He is inevitable. Anyway,
the snap brings back Trinity somehow.
I know, right?
Yeah,
yeah, Trinity's back somehow. Yeah, everyone comes back to life at the end. It's great. Everybody lives happily ever after, singing around a campfire, roasting s'mores. Isn't that right, Dion? Anyway, all kidding aside, what I think is going to happen is, yeah, Soul's going to get his head chopped off. Someone's going to kill him. He's going to do it to save Osha, whatever, or maybe to save May. You know, maybe May flips sides finally. I don't know. I may have both feet out the door, but I am going to watch this finale out of respect, see what happens. But what I'm thinking is going to happen is Soul's going to end up dead. May is going to escape and run away somehow and develop a new evil plan to take over the universe. Osha is going to join forces with Kymir, and they're both going to tear up the Jedi temple. A lot of innocent people are going to die. That's what I said. Innocent people, because not all Jedi are bad seeds, folks. Not all Jedi are bad. So, yeah, it's going to be like Order 66. I think Kymir and Osha are going to team up and really destroy a lot of different things, including a lot of different people. I think limbs are going to be chopped off. I think heads are going to be chopped off. I think arms and legs, hands are going to be chopped off for sure, because they want to reference, Luke and Vader and all the stuff that's happened in previous movies and TV shows. So why not chop off a bloody hand? Whether it's the right or the left, it doesn't matter. Like the song says. So that's what I think is going to happen. Obviously, I could be 1,000% wrong, which I'm fine with. If I'm wrong, if I'm right, great. If I'm wrong, I'm fine with that too. It doesn't matter. But I'm curious to see what happens a little bit. Not really, but a little bit. Anything can happen, right? Anything is possible. They could tease a whole different bunch of cards for season 2. If it is, in fact, there is a season 2. I don't know. For all I know, they could say, yeah, season 2 is happening. And 2 months later, it could be like, yeah, we're not going to make a season 2 now. It's not happening. Could happen. You never know. But those are my 2 cents. So we'll see what happens. Anything's possible. And Dion, look forward to hearing your full book report on Light of the Jedi by Charles Soule. I read 15 chapters of it. It was fine for what it was, although it's too many characters. It got way too confusing for me. I can't follow everything. There's too many characters and too many situations going on at the same time.
They introduce a lot of characters. If you continue reading, they will start focusing specifically on certain characters more and flesh out those characters more. The first book is a lot, indeed. I'll agree with you on that. But you need to stick with it. You need to keep going, because actually, I think the second book already is Claudia Gray.
Yeah, it's fallen. Is it the Fallen Star? Is it the Fallen Star?
The Rising Storm.
The Rising Storm. Sorry. I was thinking of something else.
Yeah, and what everyone has to remember too, like at the time the first book was written, I mean, Charles Soule got like the brunt of the work. He had to create characters. He had to do a ton of world building, new planets, new histories. I mean, like that was a lot of work for a single author to do, to like basically set up this entire story timeline arc for all of these waves that were coming. I mean, he had a lot of stuff he had to do, and I thought he did it pretty well. I mean, it is a lot, but then like just keeping that in mind, like he had to take on all of that by himself. I mean, it shows a credit to what a great author he really is.
Well, that's fair. And I've read other stuff by Charles Soule. It's just that this book was way too much for my brain to comprehend. I just couldn't do it. But I am a fan of you, Charles Soule, and I wish you all the best. I think actually, was it him or one of the other writers? I may have met him at Comic-Con and had him sign my... Ooh. Yeah, I met him at Comic-Con one time. I think it was Fan Expo in Philadelphia a couple years ago. He signed my Light of the Jedi book. So there's that. I suppose.
Then you should read it.
I tried.
Hey, so you have the book and you haven't read it.
I know. I mean, I read the first 15 chapters.
Let's start at chapter 16. You've had a long break.
I've had a very long break, as a matter of fact.
Depressed. Just start at 16.
Start at Sweet 16, folks. Sweet 16, man. Sweet 16. But anyway, that's
such a fun movie.
Yeah. And
Anyway.
exactly. You're right. It's a fun little scene there. Fun movie. And then there's, what was it called? The Rising Storm by Claudia Gray, who is by far and away my favorite Star Wars writer. She is the top. She is my number one. She is my favorite.
That's motivation to get through this.
It is because she's my number one favorite Star Wars writer. She just is. I've met her twice. She signed all my books. I love her for it. It was great. I told her how much I love her work, so she appreciated that too. But those are my 2 cents. So with that being said, I appreciate everyone who is here on this panel. I appreciate you who is watching or listening to this cannon fodder or bantha fodder, whatever you want to call it, discussion of what is known as Star Wars: The Acolyte. Boy, do we have different opinions on this gosh darn panel. But it's fun nonetheless, right, folks? We're all friends here. I hope so. With that being said, Case, if someone wants to know more about you and the great things you're doing over there on your YouTube channel or some of the other things you're doing, where can they find you?
First of all, I actually just counted the things that are released in the era of the High Republic, whether it's books, comics, short stories, that kind of stuff. There's a total of 48.
Oh,
so it's quite a lot of things to go through.
Keep in mind, some of the books are for kids. There's like an adult.
Yeah.
Oh,
There's
young
like,
adult. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, young adult type stuff.
There's
YA.
books just for the adults if you don't want to go through the kids books that you can do. So it can bring down the number of books to read. If you just want to like Google just the adult novels of High Republic, it'll give you a list.
I can do that. Or a Case if you haven't. Yeah, Case, I could do it if whoever wants to. But anyway, thank you. Appreciate that fun fact.
Yeah, but anyway,
go ahead.
So yeah, you can follow me over on my YouTube channel, The Dutch Star Wars Guy, where I talk about Star Wars a lot in hopefully a non-toxic, positive manner. Unlike some of the reactions to the show as of late, not that I mean Ryan. Ryan's been very respectful, and I like the conversation that we're having here. Being able to have different opinions, but being able to be respectful about it, unlike some of the other comments that I've got. And I'm going to do a video about all of that very soon. Right after this show is done, I'm going to do a very extensive video talking about the fandom of Star Wars. And I think it's going to be an interesting, so please stay tuned for that one, because I do think I have a lot to say about that. With that said, you can also follow me on social media on Twitter at DutchSW Guy, on Letterboxd, Case spelled like this, 247, where I log movies, and you can see what I rate movies and how controversial my opinions are when it comes to certain movies. That was about it. I look forward to next week discussing next week's episode. So until next week, see you guys later.
And we look forward to having you back, good sir. Thank you so much for being with us, Case, and good luck with that video essay and all that stuff about the fandom and stuff like that. We appreciate you, man, and thank you for that intro too. The intro is great. Jen, my good friend Jen is here. Jen, if someone wants to know more about you and the incredible things you're doing on that Rockin' Your Bald podcast, where can they find you?
You can find me at my personal Instagram handle at Jen Erminia Godaski. You can also follow me on Instagram on my Rocking Your Bald podcast handle at rocking_your_bald. All that together. I might change that because it's a mouthful. And then I'm also on TikTok. You can follow me there at Nerdiqua, as well as on Twitch, which is completely new. So just bear with me as I learn that guy. I have a lot of conversations coming up on Rocking Your Bald. And it's available on all your favorite podcasting listening platforms. So look it up and give it a listen. And I would really appreciate it. And like Kay said, I'm looking forward to our final conversation next week on The Acolyte, which I hope is just a season 1 finale. So that's me.
Anything is possible. We'll see what happens. Thank you, Jen, for being here, and wish you all the best with everything moving forward. With that being said, Dion, my man, the man who's got a notepad with a pen, and then when he's on the road traveling, doing some other projects of his, he's got his cell phone to take notes, which includes some of the books you may want to read in the High Republic series, according to the Gospel of Jen. and the High Republic. So anyway, feel free to DM him, Jen. He knows.
But
But
yeah,
Dion,
I was just going through the library app to see if I could get,
there
on
you
my
go.
schedule.
See, you're doing the homework for me, which is great because then you can text me like, "Yo, Ryan, this is what's in this series. Let me know." And then Jen can text me a comprehensive list. So Jen, I'm counting on you. All right, I'm counting on you. You're the best. Dion, if someone wants to know more about you and the incredible things that you're doing at All Star Fandom, where can they follow you?
Yeah, on YouTube at All Star Fandom and on TikTok and Instagram at All Star Fandom Show. Uploading clips there from previous episodes. Do a few movie trailer reactions, a few reviews to movies, and then just diving into those fandoms. And like I said, we keep the toxicity at a low. If there's something bad, we'll point it out, but we won't linger on it because, again, we just want to celebrate those fandoms. I mean, we have an opportunity to live in a day and age where these things that we either read or grew up, loving come to life in another sort of media, whether video games, TV shows, or movies. So to be alive and around for that, I mean, I can't complain really. So I'm super happy just that the creators that, again, those guys or those girls and people who have grown up, grew up with us around that time and are now our age, and now they have the pen and they're putting the stuff on paper and putting it on TV and film. So but no, that's what we do at All Star Fandom. We just celebrate all fandoms. Again, on TikTok and Instagram, All Star Fandom Show, and over here on YouTube at All Star Fandom. And Ryan, thanks again for having me, man. It's been a fun journey, and one more episode.
Yeah, it's been a seesaw around here with opinions and feelings and gut instincts about these things going on in the Star Wars galaxy far, far away. But listen, thank you all for being here. My name is Ryan of And I Quote Channel. Follow me personally on Twitter and Instagram at RyanRPM5. Follow us across all forms of social media simply at And I Quote Channel. I do want to let you know that movie watch-alongs are on the weekends, normally between Saturdays at 7 p.m. Eastern Time or on Sundays at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. And I Quote is on Saturdays, 12 p.m. EST. So make sure you like, comment, share, subscribe to the channel, ring that bell to be notified when our videos go up or they go live. Nerdy Cantina is going to go one more time around the galaxy, and then we're going to take a bit of a break. But after that, we got something very special planned. We're going to bring a certain show back that we haven't seen in a very long time. We're going to share a little sneak peek of that on next week's episode of the Nerdy Cantina. So stay tuned for that. But help us reach 5,000 subscribers before the end of the year. We'd really appreciate it. Once we do, we'll go through a great big live stream celebration that will include returning guests, such as the familiar faces you may have just seen here in this video, and some surprise guests and some special giveaways that you, our incredible viewers/subscribers, are going to be eligible to win. So help us reach 5K before the end of 2024, and you may win something. You never know. Possibilities are endless on this show and all our other shows here on And I Quote Channel. We live to entertain and we aim to please. So once again, thank you for being a part of the Nerdy Cantina. Like, comment, share, subscribe, ring the bell to be notified when our videos go up or they go live. And remember, the Force will be with you always.
Welcome.
Hello.
Hello tonight.
Just me.
Have you been with us before?
First time.
Oh, you picked a great night.
Where are you going, Master? For a drink?
I get all worked up. Silly. It's a party.